When I was in my toxic marriage, if someone said it was toxic, I wouldn't have resonated with that. And so the difference is the behavior that both partners engage in. And so in a toxic marriage, you have a lot of conflict. You have a significant imbalance in partnership. And so someone might always be on the defensive and being blamed and accused. You can have a complete lack of empathy. So you're in a marriage and you feel like when I cry, when I bring something to the table, I might as well be talking to the wall. Like I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm not received. There's usually a tremendous amount of conflict and chaos, and that doesn't always sound like yelling and screaming. In my household, it did, but equally toxic marriages can have individuals who implode, silent treatment, withdraw, which can feel equally as assaulting as someone who is cursing or blaming or belittling. And so the behavior and both partners tend to be pretty dysregulated. And the lesser of the two, the person who doesn't do the blaming and accusing, can often look like the more dysregulated, the more disordered individual, because that person is trying to wrap their logical brain around behavior that's just so disordered. And so that person tends to want to control to get some calm, control to get some to be seen, control to change dynamics that feel so uncomfortable, the chaos feeling so uncomfortable. And so in that behavior, the partner of the more disordered person actually, I was a frothing at the mouth rageaholic before I realized something had gone terribly wrong. So that's toxic. But if you're in a toxic marriage, there's just no best case scenario. You need to find a path that's going to get you out of hell and back on track for who you want to be, living your best life. And that's what getting off the fence and leaving your toxic marriage can do. What do I need before I move forward is vitally important. And so a few things to keep in mind if that's you is, do you know your legal rights? So oftentimes when we're in a toxic marriage, our spouse will tell us that we're going to be penniless, we're not going to have the kids, we're going to be alone for the rest of our lives and all of this. And a lot of spouses will listen and live in this deep fear of this nightmare. And your spouse is equally as afraid of as you are, and they don't know what they're talking about either. And so getting educated, speaking to a matrimonial attorney, speaking to a financial professional, getting the information you need so that you understand, if I step into this foreign land of divorce, I know what my attorney said. They do this Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, not my spouse. And I'm speaking to someone like Tracy to understand financially what might happen. You're now so much better set up to move forward with some confidence and with the beginning of a support team as well, which is what we strongly encourage.
Well, the scare tactics are so prevalent. And because I work with money, I see this so much, that money is one of the primary things that holds people back from moving forward with a divorce that they probably in their heart know needs to happen. They are worried about being penniless. They've been told, you'll never get part of my 401k. You're gonna be kicked out of the house and you're gonna get nothing from it. And, but for the most unusual circumstances, or for those circumstances where there's a strong prenup, people need to understand you are entitled to things, and the courts are there to protect you. They're not perfect, but they're sure there to protect you.
Absolutely. And I think the other huge fear, if I could just speak to it for a minute, is I'm going to destroy my children. And to me, my statement is, under certain circumstances, divorce is the best thing you could do for your children. And hear me out. If you're in a toxic marriage, you are training your children what intimate love looks like. And you're training them that intimate love looks like the toxic, intimate love between you and your spouse.
Right.
And what research shows is it is not divorce, but conflict that harms children. So if you're in a toxic marriage and there's been either silent treatment, subtle conflict, or yelling, screaming conflict, and you're staying for the kids, you are doing them a disservice. They are better off under two separate groups, even if one spouse is high conflict. If you, the non-high conflict spouse, can regulate yourself, do some work on yourself, and create a healthy, peaceful household, those children are better off with two households than under one, where you remain this broken, lost shell of yourself, and they experience intimate love is what's going on between mom and dad. I have a memory of standing on the staircase, and I got divorced 17 years ago, so maybe this was 20 years ago. Standing on the staircase, front door right in front of me, my then husband screaming, yelling, cussing, belittling, and berating me. Normal, happened all the time. And I remember looking over at the table at the front door and seeing my car keys. I swear it was a God thing. And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, I could grab those car keys and leave.
Right.
And here I'm sitting here as if he had a bat getting the shit kicked out of me. And I just walked over, grabbed my keys, walked out the door, got in the car, and went for a drive. It was one of the most liberating feelings. And so if you're in a toxic marriage, I have a Brilliance of Boundaries workshop. Find yourself articles, workshops, podcasts on boundaries, and begin to understand what a boundary is, how to set it, and more importantly, how to uphold it. Because upholding it is not about getting him or her to change their behavior. It's about getting you to change your behavior. And it's a game changer. It will really make an enormous amount of difference as you stay and figure out your next steps.
What can you tell me would be the recommended approach to taking this really, really frightening step to leave?
Don't do it alone. Whether you're relying on a therapist or a divorce coach, don't do it alone. Don't listen to all the stories of your friends and family. Their divorce is not your divorce. Every one of them is unique and different. And so I would say, get educated, create a support team, find yourself a specific person who knows divorce, who can support you, and you'll be stepping into it in a solid way.
I completely agree with that. Most people have not been through divorce before. They don't know what to expect. And so working with experts is really the way to go, because they can tell you from experience how these things go and what to expect.